All right. Hello, everyone. This is Sharece M. Sellem, founder of Soul Productions and founder and producer of the Quick Quarantine Play Festival. This week, we are on round 10 of the Quick Quarantine Play Festival, and we are honoring Black voices. Specifically today, we have AJ Lovelace, who was an actor and playwright in the Quick Quarantine Play Festival, who did an amazing job. And I want to take this time to really just focus on him and honor him for his work and his commitment to community. I think he is a shining example of activism and using your art as activism, and also in health, when it comes to health and things like that. We've collaborated on a project in the past, and I just think he's just such a dope person for everyone to know. So welcome, AJ.
Thank you for having me. I think you're the dopest person to know. I brag about you out here all the time. I'm like, so there's this girl, y'all don't know her yet, but once I get her out here, you gonna love her.
Boosted me, AJ. You boosted me.
Of course.
So AJ, if you could just kind of tell us a little bit about like how you got into acting, like what was the thing that inspired you?
Okay. So what's funny is I started out as a painter when I was 7 years old. I was actually selling my paintings when I was 7 years old, and I was always doing portraits. And with that, I was actually making up faces. It wasn't any particular face I'd seen. I wouldn't copy a face. It was just always a face in my mind. Then I was about 10 or 11 years old, and I wrote a poem, and it was about freedom and horses, I believe. And I got an award for it in my school. And so then I said, okay, well, I love to tell stories, and I can do my own illustrations. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And as I got older, I was like, okay, well, I'm really into these stories. And one day I realized that, actors who are on TV, they don't work at Stop and Shop and act. They actually just act. Like, that's what they do. Like, that's really how it clicked in my mind. I was like, oh, George Clooney doesn't just work at Stop and Shop and sometimes is on TV. Like, oh, Denzel Washington is an actual actor. Like, he does this.
That's his profession.
Exactly. Thank you. And then it was my 8th grade year. This is hilarious. You're gonna laugh. And Dexter Singleton, who is a director you and I both have worked with many times in Love and Respect, and he's a shining example of a Black man in this industry and community. And he came in with a couple of other teachers from RCA, which was the Performing Arts High School that was attached to the high school I would later attend the following year. And that's when it clicked. I said, there's a program for people who want to act. And at that point, I realized that acting was people, like the faces I was drawing, telling stories, like the ones that I was writing. And when I was in 8th grade, I actually printed out a script, and I convinced some of my classmates to not go to recess, and we would read the script and rehearse. Like 20 kids, I convinced 20 kids to not go to recess for 2 weeks, because this was right around the time that Dexter had come in with RCA, and my school had gotten an audio-visual club, had just started.
Wow.
And I convinced our computer teacher to let me type up the script and print it out. And my English teacher helped me with the dialogue a little bit. And yeah, and it just, the timing of it all came together. And so then that summer, I got my first movie, and that was it.
Wow, that's amazing.
It was all leading to that. It's so weird.
Crazy. And I know you're a jack of all trades. Like, you do a whole bunch of stuff. We're specifically talking about you acting because that's what I wanted to highlight for you, being, in the Quick Quarantine Festival and having such an amazing performance with your acting. And we're covering a playwright as well. But tell us a little bit about everything you do, because I think that that's fascinating as well.
Okay, thank you. So I am an actor, a writer, director, producer, and editor. And that's because for me, the magic of film was a way for me to really help shape a narrative and funnel it in a way that everyone could see.
Yeah.
That being said, theater for me, that was where the discipline came in as an actor. That is where the honesty came in as an actor. That is where really being focused and committed to the work of acting and the craft of acting.
Yeah.
Because to go out on stage night after night after night after night and turn out a fully realized character and performance that is fresh for people who didn't see the night before takes work. It is a skill set you have to develop over time.
Yes.
It's not as simple as being, okay, I'm supposed to just cry at the end. You
Right.
know,
Right.
you've got to convince this audience to go on this journey with you, and you have to keep them engaged. And also delivering to the people in the far back, really making sure that they're getting an experience as well as the people who are up front and center. So
Right.
the craft of keeping your instrument safe, that means rest, water, eating the right foods. When you're learning how to project and not scream, the craft, those fine details. And I feel like that rigorous discipline in the theater world sharpened my skill set. It made me understand language, so it made me a stronger writer. It made me understand pacing and timing. It made me a stronger editor, and it taught me about. I'm truly I'm an actor's actor. I'm obsessed with other actors and other artists. I'm like, what do you want to do? Where are you in this moment? And that made me an effective communicator as a director and a leader, because directing is largely about answering questions.
Right.
And just guiding people. Because
Right.
For me personally, I don't believe in telling the actor where to go emotionally.
Right.
It's on the page. The actor has done their homework, and you guide them in that direction. Just in the direction. You just assist and you help shape. Someone described it to me once. It's like shaping pottery, and you keep refining it, you keep molding it. It's not just press. You keep working it and shaping it as it's moving.
Yeah. When you were in the Quick Quarantine Festival, you had to do that in 24 hours. So without really having a director, right? I mean, even though we have a supporting director who's on call and available if you wanted the second set of eyes, you went with your own instincts and relied upon just your knowledge of acting and your own experience. What did you go through to create Emily Breeze's character for yourself?
So that's actually really a great question, because this experience, I've been spoiled, right? I've been kind of spoiled between people being like, oh, I loved you in this, so I want you to be on this. I've been spoiled in writing a lot of my own work, so I inherently know what I'm going to be performing. So with this script, and I've been very transparent about this with even other actors who would go into the festival, I was like, all right, I got this. This is what it is. And I was like, let me just double check with Emily, because as the playwright, she has a certain direction. And as actors are wont to do, we are like, oh, this is what I need to do. So this is what I'm going to look at. And she goes, oh, you're a part of 3 parts. Okay, well, this changes literally everything. And then she informed me that I was of someone from the past. Everything I had went out the window. Every instinct I had about it, I had to start from scratch. Because now it was no longer about just being in that moment. It was about taking history and bringing it into that present scene. So the following actors, because as an actor, you have responsibility to your fellow actors in the scene or in the piece, and getting them to where they need to go on their emotional journey. So I had to go back and say, okay, who is this spirit that is trying to warn these other characters about COVID-19 and its impact? And so I spoke to Emily about what the hair would look like, because, in the Black community and history of Black people in this country and throughout the world, hair is crucial, because she even wrote a lot about the hair.
Right. I remember that.
And we talked about, well, what is his social standing? Again, this is important to the history of Black people specifically. We've seen how class has downgraded different Black people throughout its history. Even the wealthiest of Black people face severe discrimination and prejudice and racism. So I need to know, was he an educated man? Was he a former slave? Was he a free man? Did he go through that transition of being a slave and then being free? So Emily really told me not so much who the character was, but placed him She kind of gave me some guidance. He was of a certain social standing, certain age roughly, and then the rest was up for me to fill in. But knowing where the character was starting, even before the moment that he speaks,
Yeah.
I had to bring that history in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I said, okay, we're gonna really reshape this. And it was humbling
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
like, oh, I still have to do the homework.
Yeah.
And so I sat down, I made notes about who I believe this character was from her vision. And, because Emily was incredibly collaborative. I wanted to be clear.
She's so dope.
She's the best. And
Right.
from starting with what her initial vision was and who I could breathe into this character, what life I could breathe into the character. Um, and it's been a long time since I've really crafted a character from scratch that could be like me. He needed to
Mm.
be as far from me as possible. I couldn't rely on my demeanor because
Yeah.
also in the story, the character has passed on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a certain understanding that comes with that level of experience and age that I have yet to experience. But I
Mm-hmm.
thought about the elders in my life who are
Mm.
still here and who aren't, and
Mm-hmm.
how they spoke and what they tried to communicate with their wisdom of decades.
Yeah.
And that informs your energy because you can still be vibrant at an older age, but
Right.
you are very specific and clear about what you convey usually, especially if you're
Yeah.
trying to warn someone about something that's going to change their life, that is going to change their life.
Right.
So it really was
So,
about getting back to that craft and doing the homework and the research.
and I think that's what's so dope about you as an actor who doesn't just like take a script and just, you know, act.
Mm.
You ask
Mhm.
a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Would you encourage like other actors, especially new actors? I think I've received a lot of emails from new actors wanting to participate in the festival. Experience is required because it's such a short amount of time, and
Yes.
you have to have that experience of doing the research. But what would you say to new actors about asking questions?
I would
Because I
say
think
that,
they're free.
uh, thank you. I think that it's crucial. So, for me, I was what you kind of describe as a raw talent actor, right? In terms of
Mhm.
like, I came in, I could access my emotions very quickly. I was very clear. I was able to access the dialogue because remember, I had been writing at this point. So I knew how to read subtext and look for the emotions in a moment. And again, getting into emotional spaces very quickly and easily and genuinely without much effort. You cannot rely on that exclusively because specificity is what helps the audience connect to your performance.
That's right.
It's that specificity that taps them in
Hmm.
because I remember and I think you've heard me say this when I'm directing is I'm saying if your line is ham sandwich, you need to be specific about
Hmm.
why that ham sandwich is relevant. Who made it? Was it
Hmm.
up to satisfaction when you had it?
Hmm.
Did you have an allergic
Hmm.
reaction
Right.
previously that makes you hesitant to that specificity? And there are generally two people who can help you with that, either the playwright, if available,
Hmm.
and your director.
Right.
So asking those questions helps you inform the sort of character you're trying to convey and the message you're trying to convey. Something I'll briefly tap on that came up from an activist I recently worked about, and we'll get into that later. She asked people who were at the movement, she said, "Why are you here?"
Mm.
And people had to stop. And she said, "Why are you here?" And I think
Hmm.
that's the question that many an actor has had to answer for their character in each scene, let alone in an entire play or film. But
Right.
why
What
are
brought you here?
you here in this moment? Because your
Hmm.
character could have been in any situation, but you're in this moment right now.
Right.
So why are you here? And you can only get the answer to that question by asking other questions.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
so even in the face of being afraid of asking the question, ask because you can only be better for it.
Right. Exactly.
You can only do so much with what you have. And as an actor, the more information you have, the stronger that character is, the deeper of your truth is, and the
Hmm.
more readily available your character is for the audience to connect with you.
Yeah, exactly. That's an amazing point, and that's so true. The more information you have inside, because it starts to show, right? And it shows too if you don't have enough information, because things then become inconsistent.
Yes.
So
And
that's
I've always said to people, a lot of times I don't remember the moment of a performance, whether it's on film or especially on stage. I liken it to being like a computer. You type up everything, and then once those lights go up, you hit print, and it just comes out.
right, right.
And like you said, that inconsistency can show up, especially as playwrights continue to evolve in their creativity, where like you might
Right.
be in a play that's non-linear, you know? So you have to be able to be like, oh, that's what I'm referring to, or be clear on like, I can't refer to that yet.
Right, right. Yeah.
So the mental and emotional gymnastics you have to do can only be refined if you know what you're talking about and what you're trying to convey.
Exactly. Now, kind of shifting the conversation a little bit to where we are in the stream of time now. We are fresh off of what happened with George Floyd and these other cases, of police brutality, and just the thought about the arts and Black people in the arts, specifically theater. What are your thoughts and feelings about that? Like about what we should be doing now moving forward? Because there's so much conversation happening in theater. I mean, it's crazy. Did you hear about that Google list that went around?
No, quickly drop some info on me about that.
Yes. So there was a Google Doc that went around. I don't know her name. I wish I could say it so I can credit her. But there was a woman who put out a Google Doc naming all of the theaters who are not saying anything, who are not putting out statements. And this was fresh off of what happened with George Floyd. Literally, like that following week, theaters still weren't saying anything. Theaters who aren't standing up, right? Especially because there's so many Black people who are in theater. And the biggest like elephant in the room is that there's so many white stories being told and Black people, it's because of this inclusive effort, being a part of those stories, but not necessarily there being Black stories being told like that. So anyway, make a long story short, she puts together this list and just calling out, and people are adding, they can add to the list all the theaters who are not standing up, who are not speaking out. That's what it's called, theaters not speaking out. And when I tell you, when I first opened up that Google Doc, I saw, it was like, 10 names of theaters? The next day, it went from here to here. It was like lists and lists and lists of theaters. It got up to like 300 by the last time I checked it, of theaters being called out, and some that we know very well, in Connecticut, which I was like, dang, they got on that list. And then there's even like an accountability section where it's like, once they did put out a statement, it says, okay, posted statement on such and such a date and time. And then theaters were telling her, okay, so can you take our name off the list? And she's like, nope.
No.
No. You're still on the list,
because
but we
I
need
had to drop this
how
list.
people are not speaking out. So
yes.
Back to the question, right? So this happens. This Google Doc is going around. We see that theater is like, the face of theater is not only changing because of COVID, because that was a thing within itself, right? Now we're doing virtual stuff. The Quick Quarantine Festival was born because of COVID. And then we are bringing theater to its knees and saying, we're not doing a good enough job. This is no bueno. We're done. We need to be telling Black stories, and we need to have Black people actively doing things in theater and being in management positions and things like that. So how do you feel, AJ, about that? Because I know you have a lot to say.
So as I usually do, I want to start with one piece a little bit seemingly backwards from what you're talking about. I have been out there since May 31st. I went out there. Now this goes back to why she made this list, if I can speak on it from my point of view as to why she made this list. I went out there on May 31st. I went out on May 31st because I live near Melrose, which is a very famous street in Los Angeles.
Melrose? Yeah.
Yeah. And Melrose has a lot of shops.
Mm-hmm.
This was May 31st, if I'm not mistaken. I believe George Floyd was murdered, and I always use that term murdered, just about a week prior. So then it finally came to LA, and I didn't realize that protests were happening out here. So when I heard about the rioting and the looting, I thought it was exclusively from just rioting and looting. I didn't realize it had come from a protest. So
Mm.
I ran out there so I ran out there on the 31st. I believe it happened the 30th, which would have been like just about a week exactly, if I'm not mistaken. I ran out there to, for me as an artist, I document. I believe that we are the truth tellers of these times.
Yes. Yes.
So I went out there to take photographs, as I did, and see people's expressions and moments and how they were really feeling. And I saw all types of people out there, people bringing their children out. People really want to see what had happened to our neighborhood. I, that same day, was like, wait a minute, this is from a protest. So there must be more protests happening.
Mm-hmm.
So within a couple of hours of taking those photos, I ran back home, got myself together, downloaded an app, and just see what was going on in my area, and drove downtown. This was the same day that the National Guard had been deployed here in Los Angeles. So when I was driving downtown to find a protest, I was literally driving behind the Humvees that the National Guard was in, because they were arriving the same time as me.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was literally behind them as they were driving and deciding where to park and what roads to block off. So I
Wow.
ended up parking behind City Hall, and that same day I ended up on those steps and I ended up speaking, and I've been speaking every day since.
Wow.
The reason I tell you that story is because she was looking for a response. And was it a
Okay.
genuine response? Was it a gut instinctual response?
Mm-hmm.
Was it a forced response? Where was the call to action? Because the call to
Right.
action is the minute that you know George Floyd is dead.
Right.
The call to
Right.
action is the minute you know that there's a group of people around you who want to do something. Once I found that
Right.
group of people, I've been with them, what is it, maybe 22 days later. I'm still with those people. Maybe
And
not the
what's the
exact
name
same
of the?
people.
You have the name of the group now.
So the group that I'm now a part of is called BLAC, BLAC, Black Leadership Allied Coalition. What's beautiful about that is the three of us found each other over time. I had already been speaking. They had already been speaking in other parts of Los Angeles. And at some point, we ended up on the same steps at City Hall and had the
Wow.
opportunity to share the mic with each other, and just were looking at each other like, oh, this person is powerful. They are of the same mind and message as me. And to that point, and being in a group called Black, um, as a filmmaker, I'm about telling the Black experience
Mm-hmm.
from a Black person's point of view.
Right. Right.
There are many a story about Black lives not told by Black lives,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And there are nuances there that cannot be touched, that have not been
Yes.
felt, that are not inherently understood.
Yes.
Something I have seen online, especially as what we affectionately refer to as Black Twitter continues to grow in its voice, is the ability to recognize shared experiences with people who live in different parts of the country that you
Mm-hmm.
have not met. From
Right.
from anagrams being instantly deciphered, and me like, I know that phrase because my mother said it to me too. To showing the beauty of Black people with these challenges of showing women in their traditional African garb,
Mm-hmm.
and then to the point of showing what Black families look like with a um, dual parental household, because
Mm-hmm.
that's a stigma around us as well that has a
Mm-hmm.
deep history beyond our own fault.
Right.
Um, so as I say this about these Black stories, as someone who started as a writer and noticing faces and want to tell the story of those faces, um, in theater, and this is personal for me. This is the only statement that I put out on my social media that was personal, outside of being a Black person, which is a personal experience. I said, I'm tired of everyone talking about these lists of Black artists that we should all be supporting. Because first of all, I'll be very candid. Black people don't make lists like that. We don't make the list because we don't need to. We know where to go because we look for each other. You know,
Mm.
within our community, we share this information. That list came out so fast And I was like, who curated this?
Mm.
And I'm sure that a Black person was asked to oversee it and sign off on it. But again, I saw all these lists and I said, okay, now what about all the times you didn't employ a Black person or a Black artist? Let's talk about that, because you want to talk about the Black artists that you know because they're famous. And what about the Black artists you know next door to you?
Thank you. This
What
is
about
always my discussion.
what about the Black artists you know right next door to you?
Mm-hmm.
You're amplifying
Mm-hmm.
a voice that's already been amplified on a platform that already has a platform.
That white people have agreed is good.
Right, because we've seen that white society believes that they are the baseline, they are the starting point, and
They're the
everything else
default.
is right, and everything else is exotic or unique and what's it? It's additional. You know,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
it's an accessory to whiteness. Is
Right.
actually a good way I would describe it. It's an accessory to whiteness. Whiteness is
Right.
the foundation, and everything
Mm-hmm.
else is an accessory to help enhance whiteness.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people are afraid of the term Black supremacy, which will let us get to being equal first, and then we can talk about.
Right. Right.
So, one of the great quotes that I've seen is America's lucky that Black people just want equality and not revenge.
Revenge.
And the reason I mention that is because, again, our stories are not being told by our people. You're not hiring us. I've been on sets where they're like, okay, we're going to honor this Black person. We want to highlight. They don't say honor. That's a term that we use in our community because we call ourselves kings and queens. They say we want to highlight. They want to
Right.
highlight us. They want
Mm-hmm.
to highlight us as if we need a special spotlight. Think about the psychology of that. But
Mm-hmm.
they want to highlight us. And I show up on set for what's going to be an amazing experience. And I'm one of two Black people in the entire place. The crew is not Black or brown. The producers are not Black or brown. The director is not Black or brown. The photographer is not Black or brown. And then the person doing the makeup is making me gray
Mm.
because they don't understand my hue. Or you
Mm-hmm.
see their look in their eye when they're like, do I have to brush his hair? And I'm like, no, I made sure to get a haircut because I was prepared for this.
Mm-hmm.
You're inexperienced in this arena. And truthfully, and so
Right.
with that, that is why, as you've seen, we work together on my show Exposure, where you see a lot of the characters are brown or Black,
Mm-hmm.
and they are shown in a neutral to positive light because it's not
Mm-hmm.
an over amplification of them being positive. It's not like
Yeah.
this, like, look at all the good Black ones, because again,
Right.
that would mean that you consider most Black people to be lower.
Right. 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 Right.
And I stand in my many shades of Blackness because
Mm-hmm.
when I've been out there, I've been saying all Black lives matter right now. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
I say that is because of the fact that Black people are in all the same spaces as everyone else. And once
Mm-hmm.
we get that door open, we will hold it open.
Right.
We will
Right.
hold that open. And
Right.
when I say right now is because we've been talking a lot about Black deaths.
Mm-hmm.
So Black lives have always mattered and they will continue to matter, but they need to matter while they are living.
Right.
So hire Black artists, hire Black writers, Black directors. There's always seems to be this shortage of us, a shortage of us. They just
Yep.
can't find us. We're just so mystical and they just can't find us. But yet
Mm.
many of our work has been stolen
Mm. Mm.
or co-opted. A
Right.
term that this country loves is reform.
Mm-hmm. Or
So
they're
they,
not good enough,
right, they're
according.
just somehow not. I actually had an experience where I asked this young man, I said, hey, like, would you be, he was not Black. And I said, he was a drummer. And I'm working on a piece right now that is reflective of these times, as I use my art to enhance my activism. I said, would you want to be interested? Initially, he was very interested. He said, yeah. He's like, I just got to talk to my management about this. I was like, of course, your representation. Next day, oh, I've been with them for a long time, so I trust them, and they just think that like maybe this isn't the best thing to do right now. And I was like, okay, like I'm just curious why, so I can look out for people to not reach out to if it's something I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, no real reason. I was like, And I felt that sting of, okay, but they support the movement, but they support the movement.
Mm.
Okay, then support the movement because I'm a part of this movement.
Right, right.
So I said, all right. I go out on a march to Staples Center. Over 5,000 people show up. This drummer happens to be one of them. He finally catches up to me. Hey, I want to talk to you about the right. So once again, we have to continue to be so exceptional. We have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, even that conceptually, we have come up with this idea that is, so we have to show. And what I'll talk about too, because I want to get back specifically to your question about theater, because I don't want to deviate too much. Black makeup artists. There are many in this day and age.
And I would imagine, especially out where you're living now, because AJ used to live in Connecticut, and now he's, in LA. But yeah.
And here's my thing with that is like, they're everywhere. The Instagram and the YouTube tutorials. Many of the people who are doing this are Black and have been Black because they have gone so long without being able to get their makeup done. Hire those people.
Right.
Black hairstylists. Hire those people.
Yes.
Black playwrights. Hire those people. Black sound designers. Black lighting designers. Black key grips. Black gaffers. Hire those people. Hire Black directors. And I want to touch on an experience that a friend of mine has had. She's a lighter skinned, borderline white presenting Latina. She was asked to play this character from a popular television show that is animated. The character is closer to looking like my complexion.
Okay.
But the character has no roots in a particular race.
Okay.
It's not brought up in the story. She's gotten a lot of backlash about playing this character. There's been a lot of resistance, right? But one of the things that struck me is the character has red hair. They didn't even give this actress a wig to match the red hair. They just were like, we want you to be this character. Every other character is visibly white, more or less. And the first thing I thought about was, because she was like, well, what's your opinion? What do you think? What should I do? Should I take the role? Should I not take the role? Where do I land on this? I was stuck because this just wouldn't have happened to me. This would not have happened to my Black behind, because I would have been aware of the fact that the character is already visibly darker. So I'm gonna find someone who just looks of that complexion and just physically match the appearance, because there is another character immediately aligned with that character who actually looks like my friend.
Wow.
Who has the slightly lighter skin with dark hair, Black hair. Is it necessarily white or so why didn't you just put her next to the character that she already inherently looks like? The irony of that is the white actress that they found to fill the role of the character with the Black hair and the lighter skin, they found her a wig because her hair is not black.
Interesting.
There is a clear understanding when someone does, it is very evident to me when someone does not have Black people, or it's very specifically a Black woman in their life. Because there's just some BS, pardon me, that Black women wouldn't allow you to get away with.
No.
Because of that intersectionality.
Yeah.
That is why when people have, such as yourself, because as I say, Black women are just trying to save the world. The rest of us need to get out the way. But when a Black creative, especially if they're female, they understand being knocked down, the hierarchy, alleged hierarchy in this white patriarchy.
Right.
So that nuance is already accounted for just by you being in the room and being a leader in the room. Malcolm X said, the most neglected person in America is the Black woman.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to that, the most supportive person in America is the Black woman.
In addition. Yep.
So in addition to being the most neglected,
right,
they are also the most
but the most supportive at the same time.
In spite of that neglect that they receive and that mistreatment, excuse me.
Yeah.
They are still constantly elevating other voices above their own.
Mm-hmm.
And in the theater community, stop trying to lighten our skin because we are proud of this color. Yes, I want you to see my color. I also want you to understand this is where my story begins. It does not stop here.
Mm-hmm.
This is just the beginning of my story. And it enhances and enriches my story the way it has enriched and enhanced non-Black stories as well.
Yes. Yes.
So we have a very critical and crucial space. One of the beautiful signs there were two instances that I was shocked and proud of. A young Japanese woman spoke at a rally that I was at a protest that I was at and that I was leading, and a young Asian man, I don't know his specific nationality, had a sign as he was following behind us that I noticed. They both essentially said the same thing. I'm gonna be silent for a moment so I can make sure everyone hears this. Black culture saved my life. She was a Japanese woman who was not born here, but she is a dancer. So she talked about the arts and how the Black community embraced her. Wow. That man with the sign, all his sign said was Black culture saved my life. But what he recognized was that Black culture is celebrated, loved, and co-opted in this country, and Black lives are not protected.
Right, right.
And the way you protect Black lives is by spending your green dollars on showing that Black lives matter right now.
Thank you. Come on with it. Come on with it.
When you invest in a theater project, I hope it's a Black director. I hope that it is a Black artist of some sort. Because Kendrick Lamar said, I'm talking about the Black artist, not the whack artist. We need to be very clear.
Yes.
Quality and substance is critical, period. That is the baseline for art and creativity.
Right. But
I don't want to hear, oh, I read some book about slavery. Oh, I had this Black guy in my class. Oh, I went to school with this Black girl. Oh, I dated a Black girl once. So let her tell her story.
Right. Or a Black actor played the role of Cinderella.
That's not special. It's not special in the fact that they thought it was so groundbreaking. To that point, people are upset about a mythical creature being portrayed by a Black person. The backlash around the area of the summer.
Over Little Mermaid.
And they're trying to bring in scientific facts as to why a mythological character could not be Black. Granted, she's in the Caribbean. And as a Caribbean person,
with a patois speaking lobster, okay.
But we got
everything is so not. I can't with the culture, but Black stories,
right?
In particular, that to me is where I feel like where we are now. In the stream of time where now we have to just advocate for ourselves and say, listen, we want Black stories and we want to have Black cast. That's what we want to see.
Yes. And what I want,
our experience is truly represented.
And what I want to say to that is, and this is why I have been saying all Black Lives Matter right now. This is so crucial. Black queer people exist. Black trans people exist. Black Latino people exist.
Yes.
Black immigrants exist. Black nerds exist. Black artists exist.
Yes.
So we will tell those stories and we will hold the door open for the other people who fall into those categories with us. If you're biracial, you're technically a Black white person. We are in all these areas. So I think I want to clarify that people might be thinking, we're going to do what's been done to us. No, because we have not done it to this day.
No, exactly. We could have been done it.
And we haven't.
Right.
And that is my thing that is so crucial for me to make sure that I clarify for people. Black people with mental health issues exist. And we have found, many of us in our community find the strength and the power to move through the arts. Because when COVID happened and we were all trapped in our houses and we started to lose our minds, we
Mm-hmm.
turned to art, we turned
Yeah.
to music, we turned to
Right.
painting, we turned to television and movies,
Right.
we turned to poetry, we turned to
Mm-hmm.
books. How many, and then this is my thing, all of a sudden there was this Black section that popped up on a popular streaming platform. And all of a sudden they want to show Black movies for free. All of a sudden they was like, oh, I forgot there's Black people here. Give me their work.
Mm-hmm.
The work that we approve.
Right.
We don't need your
Right.
approval, first of all,
Right. Exactly.
because Black creativity is a form of protest in and of itself. Black
Mm.
storytelling by Black storytellers is a form of protest in and of itself. So what I want to say to the theater community, quite frankly, is do better. You are
Mm-hmm.
trying to say that you are the truth tellers of this time. Allow the oppressed and marginalized to be the truth tellers of their own stories.
Right.
And this doesn't, and because I believe I was watching Michelle Obama's documentary about, and there's a moment she talks about affirmative action.
Mm-hmm.
What she says is defaulting to allowing white people in before everyone else is affirmative action. That is the most
Right.
affirmative action you can take, because you said, oh, Caucasian name, yeah, come in.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, we need that's the right kind of Black person we need, come in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
The affirmative action already started when you defaulted to white people coming in because you already believed that they were exceptional. What is
Exactly.
racist is to assume that I need a program to allow me to come into your space because you
Right.
already by default are questioning that I'm not capable of getting here on my own merit.
Mm-hmm.
So for
Yep.
all the people who are like, they got the role because they're Black, no. For everyone who gets the role because they are Black, there are thousands and thousands of people who are not getting the roles because they're Black.
Hmm.
How many times have I read a script where it's like, white male, da 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 da, and I'm like, nothing else in the breakdown needs him to be white.
Mm.
But when they want a gangbanger, Black.
It has
It's
to be
never
so.
racially ambiguous.
Right. Right.
I typically err on the side of not showing people of color in that light,
Yeah.
unless it's based off of a true story. And even then, they've tried to discredit Black lives by saying, well, he committed a crime once, or they had a faulty check, or they were selling loose cigarettes. You want to talk about criminal? What's criminal? You want to talk about what's criminal? Ending life. That's
Mm-hmm.
criminal.
Mm-hmm.
Abusing the system. That's criminal. And I want to talk about Breonna Taylor because I've had a lot of people say, why don't we talk about Black women when this
Yeah.
happens?
Right.
Because what they do to Black women is in the dark. Breonna Taylor was asleep. She took an oath and was fulfilling that oath to save lives. And they took her life in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And they broke all sorts of laws as criminals themselves and murderers. And they locked her boyfriend or fiance
Mm-hmm.
in there. At the start of COVID, he was not released until I was maybe in my second week of protesting. So he could not grieve. And who told the narrative about their Black stories? White people tried to control their Black stories. So
Right.
we need the white theater community
Mm-hmm.
to recognize the importance of
Right.
Black people telling our Black
Our
stories
own stories. And
and funding those stories, funding it, because Black
right.
lives need funding.
Right.
The protection
Exactly.
and
Right.
the healing of Black lives requires funding.
Requires
Why?
funding.
Where
We
is the
need our own
money?
spaces. We need our own literal venues.
Yes,
That's what we need.
yes.
Right?
I want to highlight something that was really important to me that I noticed. I was watching a television show about Black people, and they were musically inclined people. And I
Mm-hmm.
saw that they were using this piano brand called Shad, SHADD, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Shad was a Black piano maker.
Mm.
And that, for me, that visibility of Shad and not Yamaha or the other brands that we're used to seeing, said, oh, There are Black creators delivering Black music through Black innovation.
Yeah.
And they are putting their green dollars towards Black creativity. That is the beginning of creating those spaces.
Exactly. Exactly.
That is the beginning.
It comes down to funding. It's not about inclusion.
No, just
It's
having one of us pop up is not useful. It doesn't do anything.
Not at all. And that's not going to change your audience. Your audience is still going to be white coming to the theater. It's not about, peppering in, Black and brown people. It's not about that.
Someone said they don't want.
We need to be telling our stories, and our stories need to be honored, and they need to be fully, truly represented. All the nuances that you mentioned earlier.
Because there are so many shades of Blackness.
Yes.
It is not just the slave, right? It is not just the slave and the Black person who got out of the hood.
It's not the slave running.
Right.
That running slave, running all the time, never stopping, always running away from a master. That is like a forever narrative. And it's like, there's so many different aspects of Blackness.
Right.
And just people of color as well. Having different shades to their experience. 100%. And that being connected to Blackness in different ways.
Right.
So much.
And what I want to see that's very important. White people, as I've said, this is not your fight. This is not your plight, but it is your fight. That is something I've been saying a lot. It is not your plight, but it is your fight. And when I say that, and I speak from my own experience, and I know you can relate to this as well, access. Access. I'm a junior Black writer. Mentor me, develop me, groom me. The same way that you give a white writer or a white director or a white actor, put them in this huge production, and hopefully, God willing, they'll make it work. Oh, they didn't do so well this time. Well, we'll put them in the next one, they'll get better. Allow us to develop ourselves. Find an example of a Black creative who has excelled or is maybe just not been received those accolades, but clearly the work is there because maybe they haven't had access in those spaces for varying reasons. So if you find a strong example of a Black leader who can mentor Black artists, nurture that. Put your green dollars behind that.
Yes.
Because I don't want to hear, well, there's just not enough of you guys. Okay, but there's enough of us when it's time to trot us out and to sell the piece, whatever it is. All of a sudden, it's groundbreaking.
Right.
What would be really groundbreaking is if you funded our work, if you put us at the forefront, if you started to amplify new Black names and voices.
Right.
Don't keep sticking us with the same 4 or 5 we already know.
Right.
Because again,
keep having us do August Wilson.
I want to see the next, Sharece Sellem piece. I want to hear that story. I want to hear the next AJ Lovelace piece. I want to see that. I want to hear the next Black artist piece next. Don't just be like, oh, we already got 4 you in here and we're going to keep it that way. No. The same way that there's an endless repertoire of white artists that, again, you play
right.
And they
I have
amplify it.
How do you feel about Shakespeare? This is a random question because I was having a whole debate about this a little while ago, and I'm like, seriously, like.
I need to fact check this, but I feel like there's a story about his work actually being written by a Black person.
Oh wow.
There's something about that floating around that I don't know for certain, so I won't dive into the speculation. But my whole thing about that is, and this is something that, so if Shakespeare was so bent on having men portray all the roles, right? Why is it so difficult to imagine people of color filling these roles?
Right.
And again, how many times are we going to just talk about Shakespeare?
This is what I'm saying. But in the community beyond, and this is now beyond color and race, right? Why are we not, why are people just not amplifying voices of local people? Why does Shakespeare have to be the default in theater? Like, we have to move on from that. There are
Right.
Shakespeares all around.
Right. And that's my thing. And this is my thing.
It's very elitist. It's very, you know, us versus them. It's very much like, that to me is wasted dollars. Wait, if you're always going, now there's a time and a place. There's whole companies that are named after Shakespeare. Hey, that's you, that's your lane. Keep right. doing you. Right. But everybody else, you know, who keeps, you know, putting these Shakespeare plays as, oh, this is what's gonna, you know, bring the turnout. And this is like, this is how everyone should be. Everyone in theater should, you know, be a Shakespearean or whatever. When is there a point where we say, oh, here's some new voices. Here's some new work that's amazing that we need to get behind. When does that happen?
This goes back to my thing of who is curating these lists? Who is setting these defaults?
Oh.
Who is setting these defaults?
It's crazy.
And here's my thing with that. Because a lot of people, for years, I personally have felt that slight of being like, okay, you're liking and sharing the work of someone you've never met a day in your life. All I need you to do is click on something, just click it and just support, show some support. And one of the things that I have been saying that goes in line with this, it might not sound like it at first, is I've been out there saying, defund the police and refund our communities. Mm-hmm. So for the sake of this conversation, yes, and I'll tell you what, every time I said that word, people start jumping up, they didn't even let me finish the sentence. They're like, yes, I want a refund.
I like that.
So what I will say to this, to the theater community, is defund the elite and refund our communities.
Yes, yes. We're over Shakespeare, we're over it.
Keep elevating the same people who are already elevated.
And it's a standard of whiteness. That's the other part.
And if creativity and art is about progress and reflecting the times, I'm gonna be very blunt. Shakespeare ain't here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shakespeare ain't here no more. So it's time to start representing who is here, whose voices do need to be heard. And to that extent, this is one of those things, when you start investing in your community, you make it safer and better for everyone. Yeah. And like I talked about, the richness of culture. Theaters will be, you think theaters have a hard time doing programs now? Oh, please. When you have those Black and brown voices shouting at the top of their lungs with flourishing creativity and a place to channel, as I've been saying out on these marches, turn your pain into power. Turn your pain into power, and turn your pain into profit.
Economics. It would completely boost the economic system to invest in Black and brown communities, specifically in the arts.
Because they say that we don't show up. You keep taking our dollars like we show up, but you want turnout?
And also, we want to show up for our own stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's another thing.
How many times are we going to watch Shakespeare and not connect?
Like that. Not all of us.
We're going to be like, okay, I know, yes, these white people, they keep, you know, sword fighting and poisoning each other and they can't get their lives together. We get it. Now, could we maybe talk about Black people who are being excellent? Could we maybe highlight the Asian community for once? Could we maybe highlight the Latino community in a way that is beyond the comic relief? Or the spicy character?
Right.
And that again goes back into my thing of, I truly believe, because I've seen it, Black people will hold the door open. But again, I had a moment of this fear that I am sure you've experienced and many Black people experience when I put together this event. It was a full-on event for Juneteenth. And I felt nervous about the fact that I said, and I'll be very straight. So for people who might feel a little uncomfortable with what I'm gonna say, this is what I had to say about it. I was nervous. I said, okay, they're gonna be like, all right, we helped this Black person, he didn't come through. This is why we don't support them. And I'm sitting here like, they gonna look at me and they be like, this Negro said he was gonna come through and he didn't. And then they're gonna go, see, this is what we always say. And then
Right.
there's gonna be that moment of being like, no, what happened was we have been set up to fail throughout history.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I turned out that Black excellence, let that be known for the record. As
Yeah,
did the
right.
rest of my team who are a part of Black, because we showed up and we showed out, as we
Mm-hmm.
do, as our people do. These opportunities, these mentorships, these um, the need for funding, elevate these voices. Creative art is about risk. Take a risk.
Right.
Take a risk. Put your
Mm-hmm.
green dollars behind some Black and brown voices.
Mm-hmm.
We need you to be an accomplice. Don't just be an ally. Be an accomplice. So
Mm-hmm.
if and when, so if not when, but if this doesn't succeed, be like, hey, we failed together, but I'm going to
Right.
continue to fund you
Mm-hmm.
because failure is a part of the process. And in the arts, we love to talk about the process. We
Right.
love to
Right.
talk about the process. So I want
Mm-hmm.
to see the process. I want to see the risk taking. I want to see the innovation. I want to see the
Yeah.
forward thinking creatives
Mm-hmm.
who claim
An
that they are so
intentional
about
space.
progress. Oh, be intentional.
Super.
Be intentional. Be proactive. Be progressive. Look, scan,
Mm-hmm.
include. I
Mm-hmm.
don't. These all white rooms are played out.
Mm-hmm.
They are played out.
And we notice. And we notice. That's the thing. People think we don't know.
And that's the thing is like
We notice.
I found it so funny when like white people have tried to illuminate me on white people. I'm like, oh, we know all about y'all. We are still there. That just shows me that y'all forget that we're
We
in
have
here.
been in
Just
your world. How long?
we're standing right next to you watching you go, what? We know. We see all the shenanigans. And so for me, when we talk like this, and I'll be very straight with a lot of people who might be not Black and watching this is a very offline conversation. The difference is between when we have these conversations and white people have these conversations, it doesn't stop you from getting a job. It doesn't keep you out of
Mhm.
neighborhoods. It doesn't stop you from getting proper education. So remember that. So that I wanted to
Mm.
make very clear,
Yeah.
um, because this is us reflecting on our experience through your eyes.
Yes. Yes. And
And
it's not anti-white. What we're saying is not anti-white. My
but it
mother is a
could,
white woman, a white presenting woman.
right? My
You
mother is
have,
biracial.
I
And so,
mean,
and I
yeah.
met your mother, absolutely. And
Yeah.
here's
This
my
is not
thing.
anti-white.
But
This
here's my
is
thing. To your point
progress.
though, right, but here's my thing. We can't even get to anti-white if you're not recognizing Black people as people. So
Thank
you're
you.
getting
It's
so ahead of yourself.
acknowledgement. It's acknowledgement that we have a problem,
Yeah.
right? There is a problem that needs to be addressed and holistically. So not just in the area of
And
police brutality, we're looking at arts everywhere.
because I want to talk about this, this is something I've been making clear as I've been out here. I am in the business of looting and burning down a racist system. Let me be clear about
Yes.
that. I am here to dismantle a racist system. Why do I make that distinction? Because if someone is racist, that is beyond me, right? Let's
Mm-hmm.
start there. That's beyond me. Me changing that racist heart and mind is useless because that racist heart and mind will die. That being said, if we have a anti-racist system, it will not allow those racist hearts and minds to prevail.
Right.
And that will outlive us. That is the work that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
That is the
Mm-hmm.
work that needs to be done.
Nobody said it was easy.
No.
Nobody said it's not going to hurt. No one's going to say feelings weren't going to be, preserved. Like no one's preserving feelings. Everyone's getting hurt.
Right.
Everybody.
And
This is a wound opened.
Someone made a point. They said at this point now they're just brutalizing everyone so they can continue to brutalize Black people.
Mm, mm.
And so to that point, oh, we're going to sprinkle in everyone into this place so we can continue to not include Black people.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, there was a couple of Latinos in there and an Asian here and an Arab there, and that's fine, right?
Mhm.
That's fine, right? No, it's not fine. You want to talk about progress, you want to talk about leading the future and creating the future and bettering the world, then better your productions,
Right.
better your institutions,
Be real. Be real. Be authentic. Intentionally create space for Black people to flourish.
and
Stop with
hold
the
it
game.
open. And
Sprinkle.
right.
Stop.
We don't want to be the chip in the cookie. It's not useful.
It doesn't, and I appreciate authenticity. Like I appreciate when people authentically try, because there are people who are just also trying. They might
Yes.
say, dang, I thought this is us trying to, elevate Black voices by putting them in this, Shakespeare play, or whatever it is. And we appreciate that. Nobody's saying,
But
but
take it a
the
step
point of the
further.
matter is we're still not there yet. And that space has not intentionally been made and been okay for us to have. We're not all trying to be Tyler Perry. We're not
No,
trying to be that,
no.
right?
And
There are people
also,
who genuinely want to be in theater as a co-creator. There are people who want to be in theater and make amazing, beautiful, high quality theater who don't necessarily want your stamp of approval,
and that's my
who don't
thing.
want to come to your party, who don't want to be a part of your club. We want to make our own. And we want that to be respected. And we need funding just like you do. Because
Mm-hmm.
you get funding for your stuff.
Easy.
And most of you theaters are nonprofits, right?
Right.
So you're getting all this funding to exist. We need that too.
Right.
We need that too.
And to
And
that point,
again, with Sprinkle, that's not enough,
because
unfortunately.
right, and because what we've talked about is, oh, I don't want to be the token Black person in my friend group. I don't want to be the token Black person at work. I don't want to be the token Black person in the theater community. I don't want to be the token Black person anywhere.
Right.
So that goes to your
Right.
point. Oh, well, what about Oprah? Well, Oprah's a billionaire and she's so far removed from me.
Oh my God.
And what
Ew.
I've said
Don't even,
before,
yeah.
what I've said time and time again, if they don't get you on race, they get you on class.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that
Yes.
class is about funding.
It
It is
always comes
about
down to the
free
dollars.
dollars. And I am here to fight capitalism with capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
I am here because I want to see, don't give me this one-off donation. Don't donate a couch to our production. You know
Right.
what you donate? You donate a whole theater. You say,
Mm-hmm.
look, this is a space, and you preserve and you continue to do it. You don't just do it once and get your little
Right.
tax write-off and move on.
Right.
You know what I would love to see? A non-Black person help a Black person assemble into a theater, an actual theater, and continue to fund it
Mm-hmm.
and continue to help these, but and just be
And
a
not control
silent
everything.
white partner.
Yes. Yes.
Be my white ATM and help these productions happen because it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It's necessary. And guess what? At
Well, it's
some
putting your
point,
privilege to use, right?
right?
I mean,
And here's my thing to that is at some point, what's going to happen is, and does this sound radical? It should sound radical because someone thought that racism was a radically good idea and a
mm-hmm.
radically powerful system that they would perpetuate and
And
continue
many have
to
radically
uplift.
died.
Exactly. And so for that, I say, oh yeah, I absolutely want to use your privilege. 100%. 100%
Mm-hmm.
because you have
Mm-hmm.
benefited from it. And I have been at the foot of that privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Because
And
God
our
forbid,
ancestors have, if our ancestors weren't who they were, building up this place, you wouldn't have that. So it's only right. It's only fair. It's only right.
and just. This country loves to talk about justice, and
Oh,
America started as a rebellion. I'm working on a piece about this, so I can't dive into it too much. But what I will say
of
is,
course you are.
very specifically, but it's like, okay, you want to be these Americans you believe you are? You want to fight for the free? You want to be the home of the brave? Be brave and free us. Free
Mm.
us. Free us and allow us to be free And don't be intimidated that suddenly you just might have to work a little bit harder.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep it really real. There's a lot of white voices that I've heard that they question how Black people get into these spaces. And I'm like, are you just afraid to work? Because we just outwork y'all sometimes.
That's true too.
And what'll happen is we'll outwork and still not even get in. So I guess you should be scared that our spirit of having to overcome might actually overcome you.
Yeah.
But again, as we've continued to do, we will continue to be kind and generous and benevolent and respectful. And what I want to clarify, because I know a lot of people try to talk about, well, you know, you see, oh, if I ever hear this word again, ghetto, right? They try to use these poor Black stories, right? Poor Black lives matter.
Yeah.
The same way poor white lives have mattered.
Yes.
How many times Huckleberry Finn? He's poor and white. We hear about his story all the damn time.
Right.
And then they use him as a beacon.
Right.
But God forbid some little Black boy is going off on these adventures. We can't hear about that. Oh, well, he can't read anyway. So what's the relevance? And this is my thing. Stop using our trauma. Let us air out our trauma to continue to elevate our people. And let us depict our own trauma.
Right.
How gaslighting and manipulative is that to use our stories to tap into our trauma for your profit? How dare you?
And entertainment.
And enjoyment and entertainment. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, you know, she was the sassy one. Tread lightly.
Right.
Tread lightly. Tread lightly. Be very careful.
There's another actor that we love, right? I won't mention her to call her out, but she did mention to me, because she was in my play Daisies, Daisies on Harlem's Doorstep, and she said, I just thank you so much for making such a real Black character for me to play. Because every time I've been cast for something, they said, oh, we think you're earthy. We think you're earthy. Ain't nothing earthy about this actor.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
No. And when she told me that,
power.
I'm like, what? You know, it's like this assumption just based off of a look. You're just looking at her. You don't know this actor. Now that's how I know her. You know what I mean? And when she was cast for this role, the way she performed this role was so true, was so authentic, was so real, was so all the seasonings that make that character. She had it and brought it more, brought more to it. And it came from a very real place. Earthy would not be a word I would use to describe this actor at all.
Also, too, what kills me is they find all these alternative words that, again, anthropomorphize us and dehumanize us.
Yeah.
It's like you always have to kind of make us like acceptable in your context by calling us like chocolate and things like that. And I'm like, well, I don't call you mayonnaise, so I think that's kind of like, I mean, like, could you imagine reading those stories and just being like, But to your point though, because I saw something where, again, someone who is non-Black was talking about, oh, I've been told to do it the urban way. And I was like, hold on, pump the brakes.
Here we go.
Pump the brakes.
Here we go.
Now you are, again, trying to slide into a space that is very well known to Black actors. Because when they say urban, they mean Black. And when they say Black, they mean poor Black. They mean the hood, inner city. So let's just be clear about that. What they want is someone who can emulate what they deem the full extent of Black culture.
Right.
Because what I want to say about that is a piece of Black culture. I have a lot of space for that area of Black culture because that's a part of Black culture. One of the spaces I grew up in with Black culture. But even in that, there are nuances to that.
Yeah,
exactly. So I'm tired of, oh, we'll do it the Black way, do it the urban way, Do it this way. Do it
Urban and Black are not synonymous.
Because what you're saying to me, what the incredibly racist thing you're saying to me is, do it the poor way. Because that is the only way I've seen of Black people is poor and uneducated.
Right.
And this is why we need to tell our stories. We need to show that in the hood, there are educated Black people who know how to read and read very well and excel and do fantastic work in their education systems.
Right.
But the problem is the system, the racist system, is not designed for us to excel. So you can excel at your school, but your school is trapped. It's capped. It's already cut off at the knees to keep you from excelling beyond a certain point. Because when you go in and you take those SATs, which were designed to keep Black people out of universities, you're like, what is this material? Oh, I'm doing well with this specific targeted material. Because how many Black people don't even know Shakespeare?
Right. Exactly.
They've heard of the name. They know of Romeo and Juliet loosely.
So over
But
it.
they can't speak to 12th Night. They can't speak to the Tempest. They can't speak
The
to
language alone.
Midsummer.
And that's why does that have to make you look like you're smart? You know, reading that text and understanding that text. Why is that synonymous with you know, being elevated and smart in theater? Something to think about, something to munch on, because that's not all of our experience or our desire, really.
Thank you to that point.
Somebody something they don't want to eat. That's how I feel about it.
Exactly, because my thing is, okay, well, why aren't they teaching August Wilson outside of February?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we got to do the Black curriculum now for a hot second. It's like, and here's my thing. These places want to say that they're so well-rounded and diverse. They're so well-rounded and diverse. I would like to see the diversity. I'd like to see it. Because look at the material we have right now.
My thing is, don't even touch it then. If that's not who you are, and I'm just speaking to theaters in general, you know, regional, local, whatever. If that's not who you are and you're having a hard time, you know, representing that, then don't even bother. Just go ahead and sponsor another theater who can and is willing to put in the work and hire the right people, Black people, to tell these stories. Don't 100%. Even, because now you're tokenizing and you're playing games.
Co-opting, right.
And you're trying to continue to get your grant funding based off of something that ain't true. And that to me is criminal.
The pandering is disgusting. We're going to do a Shuck and Jive Black play. And it's just like, that's right. That in and of itself is inherently racist.
I have no problem with programming for Black History Month. I don't have a problem with that. No. What I have a problem is the inconsistency. You want to put your white lens of greatness is on it. You know, like, I'm only going to do The Wiz. I'm only going to do The Color Purple. I'm only going to do Raisin in the Sun because these are famous, you know, plays. You're not doing local. You're not tapping into...
But wouldn't you want to be the theater that was like, we elevated, because I won't say the term discovered. I won't say discovered because we know how that goes. If people think we discovered something, those statues are being taken down, by the way. But again, elevate those voices, you know, really elevate those voices. Because how proud can you be like, wow, you know what? And just on doing the right thing, being like, we were educated and enlightened about this young Black creative, and we took a step to be on the right side of history to help advance progress and creativity and nurture development, because those are universal things. And we said, okay, there's a true talent here. And if and to that point, if you find a piece of work that's workable, work it, put it out there. It can only get better.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because all the times, and I'll be very, very direct, I've been to Cannes, I've been to these massive film festivals. And I've seen these pieces of work that are works in progress. Y'all are here clapping for an unfinished report. Ovations, winning awards, and the work is not done. It's not complete. So you're telling me that you can't find a Black person who could essentially do the same thing? I've been clear on my show. There's a clear statement where I say flat out, people of color are not allowed, we are not forgiven for being mediocre. And we are, and what I should have added, or what I'm adding to it now, is we are resented for our excellence. Because you'll see it where it's like, oh, well, I guess it's good, you know, she's like the one good one. Or, you know, well, if he just worked on it a little harder, then maybe we could sponsor it and back it. What the hell are previews for? Y'all keep putting up incomplete work that is hailed as and critically acclaimed and lauded, and it's incomplete.
Crazy.
So I want to understand why Black people can't put up incomplete work.
It's crazy.
As I've been saying out here these weeks, make it make sense.
Right, exactly. Make it make sense.
And I'll be straight up, because right now it's not making sense. So right now we'll just take the dollars to make the art.
That's right.
Let us figure it out.
Just give us the dollars. And let us workshop our stuff. Let us perfect our stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Give us an opportunity to show you. It just, again, the arts want to talk about, we just love the process. We love the process.
Yeah, okay.
We love the process. So let us process then. Why do we have to always show up with our work has to be vouched for. It has to be vouched for. We're not even at the work yet. We're talking about it has to have the white stamp of approval. To then even get the ears ready to hear the work.
Right.
And the eyes to even just see the work.
Right.
They're not even taking they're not even ready to even entertain the notion of the work existing without someone white already saying, I checked it out. It's good. Right. Then they want to see it. Then they want to rip it apart and reconstruct it to make it more. And this is why I second your notion of, we do need our own spaces. And if you want to be an ally, turn it up and be an accomplice. And put those green dollars
and help us
behind these Black lives. Yeah. Like I said, I want a white bankroll theater that puts on predominantly Black and brown art. I would like to see it.
Yeah. Oh, and that's on my vision board, and it's going to happen on my end. I will be building a theater, you know, and that will be the highlight.
And
that will be
can I say something? Can I say something to that point? It won't be in the hood.
Right.
That's the only place they want to build stuff is in the hood. We get one little community center with some Black person's name on it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We've got to do different stuff.
Put it in areas where they have the money, because here's what I want to highlight about that. That is redlining.
Yeah.
You are keeping Black young artists away from their white peers. And you are actually stifling and weakening the white experience to Black culture. Because what do they do? Because watch, let's draw this out. Okay, Sharece, we're gonna give you Sharece M. Sellem Black theater in the hood. Well, no white people coming there to spend their money.
Thank you.
It's in a poor community.
Which is the same issue that white theaters are complaining about, that there's not enough Black people coming to this for the same reason.
Right. So now all of a sudden, well, Sharece, your theater, it's just not doing well. It's not doing the numbers we'd hoped. It's just not at the caliber we were expecting. And so they set you up to fail. So now they can justify not making Black artists theater part 2 in it. No, don't play these games with me.
Right.
And I'll tell you another reason why Black people also aren't going out into these white areas, because you are policing us and stopping us. I'm not trying to see a show and then get arrested the same night.
Thank you.
and get questioned for why. I recently spoke to a Harvard professor who said at Harvard, they know who he is. As soon as he steps off of Harvard, just another Black person.
That's amazing.
He's tall, well dressed, very visibly educated. Like, it's visible. It's visible. They don't care. At one of these protests, they grabbed a Black woman who was an elderly woman. Let's just start there. She's an elderly Black woman. Two, she's either like, she's in politics. She's either a representative or a congresswoman. And they grabbed her up, the police. And they really physically, forcibly, that people were afraid for her life. So that tells me that all you saw was this skin. That you grabbed an elderly Black woman. And so you wonder why we kind of are like, I'm not going over there. Well, they're just not interested. Yes, we're not interested in being arrested and brutalized and killed. When we're just trying to have a good time. And when we would like to educate ourselves and go see an informative piece of art.
Right.
And take in some culture. Why don't you come take in some of our culture? You might be shocked and you might not like what you see because you might see what you've done to us. Because we are going to tell our stories in its many beautiful shades of Blackness. We will tell our stories.
Yes.
By any means necessary.
Yes, AJ. And on that note, I think we should wrap up.
Yes.
We've been like a little bit over an hour, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, but you are such an amazing actor, such an amazing artist and activist, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to make sure that you were honored, this week in this round. And we were just me personally, like, I really appreciate how you risk your life for this.
Do the good work. Yes. I need our white allies to become our white accomplices, and we need to use those green dollars to support these Black lives now. To the Black community leaders who are truly doing that work for the community, because there are some people who are co-opting and taking advantage, and I want that to be clear. Because I want to be blind to that is not helpful. We need to be vigilant about that. Really finding the Black artists, the Black activists who are doing it in different ways.
Yes.
Yeah. You're someone who I can speak to who's helped many a community, as to my case in point, Black women trying to save the world and we need to get out the way. When as you've been doing the Playwright Festival, people from different countries have signed up and joined, and you are saving their non-Black mental health and their Black mental health. So that's activism. That is refunding the community. So this really is about the funding. The arts always struggles to get funding for whatever reason, but yet we can militarize our police. It makes sense. Because what I want to say is this is about accountability. This is about really showing true support and being intentional.
Yep, that's right.
Black lives cannot thrive without green dollars, the way nothing in this Western capitalist system thrives without green dollars. So that means funding our projects, helping fund our communities, helping Black people get jobs and keep their jobs, helping find ways to get healthy food to Black areas, because there's a lot of wonderful, sweet Black children who are struggling to learn because their bodies are not being nourished and their minds are not getting nourished.
Right.
When I talk about the future, I talk about our future as the current adults, but also the legacies we want to leave behind. I've heard a lot of people say, how could I bring a child into this world? Make the world better so you can.
Right.
You shouldn't be afraid that your human species won't thrive in this area. No other animal burns down their house. So I want to say that, and for those artists and activists who are out there, this is your moment. This is your moment in this movement, because this whole thing is not a moment. This is a movement. This is a movement to progress. This is a movement to the future. This is a movement to unity. This is a movement to ending a racist system. This is a moment in a movement, and we will continue this movement. We will continue this work through Black excellence, through Black art,
Yeah.
through Black people. So all Black lives matter right now. And I will continue to amplify those Black voices to the best of my ability. I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. You know, sometimes I just reach out and I just want to tell you I'm proud of you. I don't even know what I'm proud of you for, but I know I'm proud of you. There's always something with you that I got to be proud of. So,
right.
so I just want see my color and just recognize that it's the beginning of my story. And that's just what I want to impart to you to help re-energize you as you continue your good work, Sharece, and to the other Black people who will see this, and share to the other Black people who might not see this. Because again, we have to continue to educate each other as we continue to create and hold space for each other.
That's right.
As you've held space for me and created space for me today. See, leading by example, I can easily just turn it and point to what's happening right now.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, AJ. And stay tuned this Saturday. Watch videos. They will be created by Black playwrights and Black actors. So we are honoring Black voices. So you get to see the full Black experience. So I shouldn't say the full because it's so big. There's so much. But I would say a lot of the Black experience. All right. Peace.